Okay, folks, so I've made this little video on suggestions on how to give effective feedback.
All right, after the first reading, what I've asked you to do is think about these four questions and share this information with the author. Um, if the author and the reviewer have a different understanding of who the audience is and what they're trying to convey, what the main points are, then there's a disconnect, and the author needs to know that. These 4 points are important, and I've asked you to look at these and report them back to the author. Most of you answered each of these four questions, but not everybody did. Some of you presented your answers in bullet form in order 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's fine. Others of you wove the answer to these questions throughout your homework in paragraph form, and that worked as well. Either way is fine as long as you include your thoughts in response to each question. So here's an example of one of the submissions, and what I look for is the 4 points. Who's it intended for? What's the author trying to convey? Um, what are the main points? And was it delivered effectively? So here's another review presented in bullet form. The audience was professionals living in Amherst. The message was local food may be more expensive, but industrial food comes at a higher cost. The main points, according to this review, are cheap food comes at a high cost to farm workers and their families. It's a little bit redundant with the earlier message, and maybe that could be fleshed out, made more clear. And this reviewer thought the message was delivered was effective. After your second reading, I asked you to think about, what stayed with you. What did you like? Where are the places that you got lost, and what could be clarified? This is important information for the author, and most of you did a good job providing this information. So here's an example of someone who answered all the questions for the second reading. What stayed with you? Well, the statistics on heat stroke stuck with me. What you like? Well, I liked the opening with the personal incident where you get lost. The fifth paragraph confused me a little bit. Where you need more detail, I would like to expand on how people can access to good food. And any other suggestions? They suggested more detail specifically around meat. So this is an example of someone who provided answers to all of these questions, did a nice job giving feedback, useful feedback to the author. One of the suggestions following the second reading is to be very specific with your feedback. Simply saying you liked it is fine, but saying why you liked it is even better. So here we're trying to be relatively specific, at the same time being respectful, positive and constructive if at all possible. And you can base your feedback on your own perspective because you're going to get more than one reviewer, and your perspective is important. But instead of saying, I like your essay, it was terrific, which is interesting, and everybody loves that kind of feedback, I'll try being a bit more specific here. For example, starting off with a short, powerful aha moment forces the reader to slow down and think. The reference to Maria Isabel Vasquez Jimenez creates the link between the reader's emotional response to the story and the cheap food explained in the previous paragraph. So we're connecting emotion to facts and making them more powerful. That specific kind of feedback is really useful. It's helpful to look for something positive. There's almost always something you can write that you like, and it helps the author receive the negative stuff if you also get something positive. And so, one of you wrote, for example, the essay is concise. I think it really benefits that it serves as an introduction to supporting local food while being not too information heavy. Cool. And I like how the story at the beginning you put an individual story, a personal story to be the face of the real cost of industrial food. These kind of comments help the author both hear the critique, but also tells us as an author what's working. On third reading, I'm suggesting you take particular note of the architecture of the writing. When there's only one paragraph, we'd look at is the opening sentence and the closing sentences. Do they connect with each other to make it a single paragraph? So we'll look at the architecture across paragraphs as well. We'll do more of this work later on. So that's enough for now, folks. We're going to get a lot of practice doing this throughout the semester, and you're going to get really good at it. A few of you asked about grammar and spelling, and some of you made some suggestions on grammar and spelling, and that's fine. It's just not the most important thing, particularly if with the first or the second reviews. After you get to your third or your fourth draft, we might want to fix these things. More important, can you communicate an idea effectively? This is what we're going to work on early in the semester.